What creates a genius? Is it talent? Is it hard work? Or is it something far more mysterious? Throughout history, whenever we have tried to explain greatness, we have usually pointed to two things: extraordinary ability and relentless dedication. The natural gift and the countless hours spent sharpening it. But there is a third factor, one that rarely gets discussed: an invisible variable, a force that no athlete can train for, no coach can teach, and no amount of determination can fully overcome: luck. This is not a story about cricket's greatest players. This is the story of cricket's greatest what ifs. The genius's fate never allowed us to fully watch. This is the story of cricket's unluckiest geniuses. And perhaps none represent that tragedy better than Lawrence Rowe. When Lawrence Rowe arrived in international cricket, he didn't just announce himself, he exploded onto the scene. On Test debut, he scored a century in one innings and a double century in the other. Teammates and opponents spoke of his batting with awe. Some even believed that, purely in terms of natural talent, Rowe belonged in the same conversation as the greatest West Indian batsman who ever lived. Lawrence Rowe was a hometown boy. At Sabina Park, 4 tests brought him 3 centuries, including a unique double and single hundred on debut, and an average of 113.40. Long before Sir Vivian Richards became an international icon, Jamaica's Lawrence "Yagga" Rowe was widely viewed as the most naturally gifted and technically pure batsman in West Indies cricket, with legends like Sir Gary Sobers and Michael Holding tipping him to become the greatest ever. His impeccable timing, flawless footwork, and graceful stroke play instantly drew comparisons to the great Don Bradman and George Headley. Yet cricket never got to see the full version of Lawrence Rowe. Health problems, inconsistency, and circumstances beyond his control gradually pushed him away from the path that seemed destined for greatness.
Rowe began to suffer a series of baffling health problems, setbacks that would gradually undermine one of cricket's most gifted talents. The most devastating of them all was an acute and severe allergy to grass. It sounds almost unimaginable. His own body reacted to the very surface on which the game is played. The condition brought with it serious complications. His eyesight began to deteriorate. The ball, once seen so clearly, started to blur. The effortless certainty that had defined his batting was becoming increasingly difficult to maintain. And as if that were not enough, a persistent and agonizing ankle injury continued to trouble him. Match after match, setback after setback, the physical toll mounted. What remained was a heartbreaking reality. A cricketing genius still possessed of extraordinary skill and vision, but trapped within a body that was no longer able to serve him as it once had.
Then came the rebel tours to South Africa, a decision that would leave his reputation permanently divided. What remains today is one of cricket's greatest unanswered questions. How great could Lawrence Rowe have been?
Steam left in him. That's a single Rowe wanted. Turned off his legs. Takes him on to 50.
But Lawrence Rowe was not the only cricketing genius whose destiny was rewritten by forces beyond his control. Now, shift your eyes to India. Decades before Shane Warne mesmerized the world with the ball of the century, there was an Indian maestro who spun the ball so violently that opponents claimed he could turn it on glass. His name was Subhash Gupte. Sir Gary Sobers, widely considered the ultimate authority on cricket greatness, explicitly rated Gupte above Shane Warne. Legendary off-spinner Erapalli Prasanna remarked that Gupte could bowl any line and length entirely at his own whim. He had two distinct unreadable googlies. In 36 tests, He took 149 wickets. He was the undisputed wizard of Indian cricket. But in 1961, during England's tour of India, a single phone call destroyed his life. The hotel room tragedy. In those days, cricketers weren't treated like modern multimillionaire icons. They were at the mercy of strict, rigid board officials. Gupte was rooming with teammate Kripal Singh. Singh reportedly used the room landline to call the hotel receptionist, asking her out for a drink or a dance. The receptionist complained to the team management. When the bureaucracy scrambled for answers, Kripal Singh denied any involvement, and the blame implicitly leaked onto his roommate Subhash Gupte. Gupte was completely innocent. He even appealed to the BCCI president, stating that Singh himself had admitted Gupte had nothing to do with it. But the board was ruthless. They dropped both players for the upcoming tour of the West Indies. Heartbroken, deeply humiliated, and disgusted by how easily his integrity was sacrificed by the establishment, Gupte turned his back on Indian cricket. He packed his bags, moved to Trinidad, and never played for India again. A world-class wizard, completely undone by an administrative witch hunt. But Rowe and Gupte are not alone in this tragic pantheon. Go back to late 1920s Australia. A young, elegant batter emerges alongside Don Bradman. His name is Archie Jackson. Jackson is smoother than Bradman, more artistic, possessing a fluid style that leaves English bowlers spellbound. On his Test debut in the 1929 Ashes, he scores a magnificent 164. The Australian public is split. Who will be greater, Bradman or Jackson? There are those who argue to this day that had he lived, Archie Jackson would have rivaled Don Bradman as the greatest batsman of all time. Jackson's death from tuberculosis at the tragically young age of 23 meant that he gave only glimpses of what might have been. And if you think cruel fate only robbed individual players of greatness, think again. Sometimes it wasn't just a career that was stolen, it was an entire generation. For more than 2 decades, South Africa remained isolated from international cricket because of the apartheid regime. The ban was a moral stand against racial segregation, but for countless cricketers it also became a personal tragedy. Men who had spent their entire lives preparing for the highest stage suddenly found that stage taken away from them. Imagine possessing world-class ability and yet having nowhere to prove it. Peter Pollock's fiery pace, Graham Pollock's sublime left-handed artistry, Mike Proctor's extraordinary all-round brilliance.
Hold him! What a great sight for a fast ball.
Clive Rice's commanding leadership and unmatched consistency. Barry Richards' batting genius, so breathtaking that many who saw him still rank him among the finest players ever to hold a bat. Most of them were denied what every great athlete craves, the chance to test themselves year after year against the very best in the world. Statistics can tell us how many tests they played, but they can never tell us how many they should have played. How many centuries Barry Richards might have scored, how many wickets Mike Proctor might have taken, how many records Clive Rice might have broken, how many masterpieces Graham Pollock still had left in his bat. Cricket lost far more than numbers during those years. It lost stories that were never written, records that were never created, rivalries that never happened, and perhaps an entire South African side that could have stood among the greatest teams the game has ever seen. Some tragedies in cricket belong to individuals. This one belonged to a whole generation. And the truth is, there are many more names like these, many more stories that deserve to be told. Perhaps that's the cruelest lesson of all. Talent alone isn't always enough. Hard work alone isn't always enough. Sometimes, for a story to be written the way it deserves, the stars have to align. And that isn't just true in cricket, it is true in life itself. Some of the greatest battles are fought in silence, and some of the greatest talents never get the opportunity they deserve. Before you go, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Out of all the players we covered today, whose story moved you the most? And is there an unlucky genius you believe should have been on this list but wasn't? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be reading them all, and who knows, your suggestion might become the subject of the next deep dive. Until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.